Okay, guys, we're back for the next portion. We're going to talk about actually taking a trade and setting stops. These are some of the scary parts of crypto, but we're going to see what we can do. Again, none of this is ever financial advice. This is just a teaching moment, and all of it is just based off of experience that I've had. I'm just sharing some things that have worked for me. I encourage, as always, and you'll hear me say this on the live streams, I encourage you to come up with your own plan. But again, hopefully some of this can be helpful, maybe be incorporated in your plan, maybe not. We'll see. All right, let's jump straight into it. Okay, so we left off on the last video with learning how to make our support and resistance zones. This should be, and I intentionally started that way, because every good trade starts with identifying support and resistance every time without fail. So I know on our live streams, that anytime I do the more complex things, like we'll talk about bear bats or rising wedges and all those things, head and shoulders, we'll get into all that. But even within those formations, even within those patterns, you have to identify support and resistance because it's absolutely crucial to making a move. So let's look at what we have right here. Entering a trade is an odds game at any point. So even though you might start with the best trade setup, even though you might have pocket aces, it still might blow up in your face and you have to be monitoring your trade. There's no scenario where you can just hit the button and go take a nap and come back and be, a millionaire with a Lambo. That's not how it works. You have to always be watching to see if your trade's actually going the way you thought it would. Is it going that 75% odds direction? Or did your favorite sports team lose when they shouldn't have? Did your sports bet not work out because things didn't go like the odds thought they might? So let's just start with this. So looking at this activity, this trade range itself, what is one of the highest risk reward trades you could enter based on where we are? Well, taking along right here at this moment in time is actually a pretty low risk reward. Why might that be? Well, it's because we're at quote resistance. So we have identified, and I'll label this so it's simple, resistance, and we have down here support. So let's leave these labels here just so we see them going forward. So at resistance, this is where the guys who bought support are looking to sell. Or the guys who are considering a short of some sort, this is where they short. So there is a zone of sorts and you can kind of see it. Remember that trading is not about exact dollars and exact pennies, but more about zones. So there's a zone of sorts where the market has seemed to say, you know what? I think this is about where we're done. We're kind of done going up. Now, that doesn't mean the market can't break up, consolidate, and keep going. That's not what we're saying. But what we're talking about is in this moment in time, with what we see, with the information we have in front of us. So this is completely separate from what you believe, which are labeled as fundamental analysis. This is all technicals. The technical analysis of this chart tells you that somewhere up here, you should look to sell. And somewhere down here, let's kind of call it there because I'm just looking for a zone to work with, right? So somewhere down here is where you'd want to buy. So again, at some point, this range will break. But the guys who trade this range and who have traded since 2022 began, they don't care about the range breaking. They care about swinging from here to here to here to here. This was very interesting. I don't know how many people perfectly positioned for that, right? Especially knowing that the buy zone was down here. But apparently some people did. Perhaps it was a double bottom. We'll get into that later. But the punchline is where the price is right here. This is a good position to consider selling or shorting or whatever. By the way, this is where I have to say, I am not a fan of shorting crypto in crypto markets. I'm a buy side trader primarily. So I look for my opportunities to buy and then I look to sell. So when I say something like short here, that kind of thing, what I'm really saying is in my mind, maybe I bought down here or maybe, I took a long in here, but this is, if I'm long in any sense, I'm getting out right there. This is the point where I'm out. That being said, what I would be watching for is either an exit of my longs or a short entry. And I would look to do something like a short or close my longs in here. And let's say we did enter a short and let's look at how we might do that. So TradingView comes with these long and short position tools. So you can actually kind of play with this. And so visually we can take a look at it. So let's say we got the world's best short and what the short entry. Let's say we got it right at this upper line, where it's only wicked for a moment in time. So let's say we actually got the world's highest risk reward chart, risk reward short. Well, we have to set our stop somewhere. So what you want to do is look for where might the market, if we break this particular level, that this is more indicative of a true reversal rather than just a stop run. So what I like to do is to give it a little bit of room. So that's about a 4% wiggle, which means you can't be shorting on 25x, right? Because if you get stopped out 4% wrong, you just got liquidated essentially. But if you were, let's say, on a 2x, a 3x, then your risk reward here is significant. You have a 5 risk reward, and what that's saying is the potential gains are significantly higher than your potential losses. But you have to set your sight on, okay, where might I be wrong? At what point am I wrong? And so what I did is I would set my short somewhere up in here, and that would be in line with this cluster. It would also be a clear new high. You can see in recent activity, the recent price activity, that the price has not gotten above this level. So if it wicks above it, I want to be able to withstand that. If it consolidates above it a little more, I want to be able to withstand that. If it cuts well into it, then it just got me. And that's just it. Even if it turns around and does something like that, you got to have your line in the sand. You can't just ride it to nothing. So if you enter some sort of short right up here and it just continues to trend up, let's say it trends all the way back to 58, 59,000. You don't want to be short that entire time. You're trying to preserve your capital for the next multi-year cycle. Again, there's this tool over here for longs as well. So if you were able to get a long right here, again, and visually you wanted to show your friend or explain to somebody, here's my plan, then this tool is pretty neat. And what this is showing you is, okay, so ideally I get my entry here. I set my stop here, which actually is below this wick. So if suddenly we find ourselves down in there, then more than likely, the buyers have stopped showing up because they're not protecting these entries and these entries. That's how mentally I would think of that. So if I was taking some kind of long in here, my stops would be there. And then ideally you would do something like this, and write it back. And we just ping pong around, for infinity. But if we do, you make money both directions. So I think that's going to do it, guys. I wanted to just give you a glimpse into what the chop traders have been doing for the last 3 months. Again, this is not my style. There's probably much better people out there suited to get into heavy detail. But I wanted to at least expose you to these concepts, these ideas, because it is pretty high hit rate, the stuff I talk about. And I wouldn't share it with you if it was, let's say, degenerate and dangerous. And I think I'm one of the more conservatives out there, conservative types in the crypto world. So I'm trying to get you to put on these glasses, the same that I wear, to view things as, oh, okay, safe long, ooh, risky long, right? Safe short, ooh, risky short, that kind of thing. Okay, guys, I think that's going to do it this time. Thank you for your support. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/cryptojack and also on Twitter at _cryptojack. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next time.